What's up, guys? Asian Kyle bringing you another knife review slash kind of overview. Now, before I really get started, I know there's plenty of videos out there on this knife already, but I'm just going to kind of give you my take. But before we get into that, this is my Spyderco Delica. This is my current EDC, and it's a folding knife. This is generally the area in which I fall under as far as knife carry goes. I'm a folding knife kind of guy. Most obviously, they're big when using, but small when carrying. I mean, look, this thing, I've got a little bit there for like a pommel for some self-protection, but I mean, really, it's not that much in hand. Also, these knives are a little less intrusive and a little less scary for people. If I just whip this thing out in public, which I often do, I'm eating an apple on break at work. Hey, look, I don't really want to sink my teeth in that big friggin' apple, so let's just cut it up into pieces. This does not bother my coworkers. I've also kind of whipped this thing out in public whenever I needed to do just some tasks real quick. Here in Idaho, people don't really care, but Idaho is also super, super conservative, and there are more guns than people. Anyways, this is just the category I fall under with folding knives. They're very easy to carry. They don't take up a lot of room. They don't scare people. And most of all, they're just kind of cool. I really like folding knives. But this isn't what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something else. So, set that aside. Let me just keep that open, actually. Today, we're going to talk about the ESEE Izula. Now, this will be my first fixed blade knife review that I've ever done, and here goes. So before we kind of dig too deep into that, let's just kind of get a quick macro on this thing. There we go. Let me see if I can try and get the use in there. Just a disclaimer, I have used this thing already, and I actually used it in the weekend, and that's why the finish is a little bit messed up, but you know what, I think that's important when it comes to reviewing a knife. So let me see if we can get there. Yep, a little bit of wear on the tip. Rocking the 360 Strider wrap. And most importantly, let me see if I can get this for you. Yeah, right there. Take note of that. Alright, here you go. Just set this guy down. So let's just get some quick specs on this knife. It is an ESEE Izula. Oops, sorry. Focus there. There we go. And overall, it comes in at a 6.25 inches. The blade length, and mind you, that is from tip to this part right here. Sorry guys, it's early. Having a hard time talking. The actual blade length, which is, as you see, the length of this edge, is actually only a 2.625, so it makes it a little bit more legal, I guess, in some areas. The blade thickness is 0.16 inches, made of 1095 high carbon steel with this Rowan manufacturing heat treat on it, which holds up very nicely. The handle length on this is 3.375. I got this one in OD green plain edge, and it weighs 1.9 ounces without the sheath. With the sheath, right here, it's an extra 70 ounces on there. So it really is incredibly, incredibly carryable. And the best part about this knife, in my opinion, is it's made here in the great old USA. So let's just kind of talk about this a little bit. Some features that I really like are, number one, this drop point edge right here. The entire edge of this thing is 100% usable, and I mean, like, you can do really, really hard cuts here. You can even do detail cuts here and stuff. Like whenever you're whittling, I actually find it's easier to use this portion of the blade just to kind of hold your stick and just kind of press into it like this, rather than come at it right here with that portion of the edge. It's just, I'm very impressed. The entire edge. Again, the entire edge is usable. What's some other things I like? I do like its size. It's easy to carry. It just doesn't take up a lot of room, and it's not incredibly heavy. I like the coating, kinda. We'll talk about that more in just a bit when we get to things that I kind of dislike about it. I really do like this finger choil up here. It's just I used it to do some pretty heavy stuff. And actually, I'm going to roll in 2 pictures here of a shelter I built 100% with this knife. And we're talking batoning logs, you know, this big around. Just for a size comparison for that, here is my mag pull for my iPhone. And they're about yay big around. So, I mean, they're almost the size of my iPhone. They were no small logs. But I'm batoning through that with this little knife. And it just chewed it up and spat them back out. It was awesome. I think the last thing I really like about this knife is actually the skeletonized handle, because you can put a wrap on it, and it's really, really good. As far as the price goes, I ordered this thing from knifeworks.com, and it was only $42. Grand total with shipping, it was like 48 bucks. So this knife is completely under $50, and you are getting a heck of a knife for that price. It's just, I would buy another one of these in a heartbeat. In fact, I'd probably buy one in, like, I don't know, the Venom Green, the Zombie Green, or Blade HQ's Fire Ant Red. It's just, that looks sick. It is awesome. Let's kind of talk about the sheath a little bit before we move on too far. This is the sheath it comes with. This is just the classic molded plastic sheath from ESEE. And, you know, I kind of like the sheath, actually. I'm rocking this paracord poor man's belt looping on here. I don't have a lot of money, but that's okay because this was cheap and it works really, really well. The sheath, unfortunately, does scratch really, really easily. I don't have enough really good... Oh, maybe you can see right there a little bit. Some scratching. But unlike a lot of the K-Bar Becker stuff, this sheath does not dull the blade. It keeps the blade exactly how it is. So I'm pretty sure that it's grooved right in there for the blade to kind of slide into, versus the Becker sheaths where they're just kind of flat and boxy right here. So the blade slides in there and it just rubs and dulls the blade. So that's kind of enough on the sheath. As far as the purpose or in POU goes, I really see this as a last resort kind of a survival knife. It's stout enough to take whatever that you need with it. But more importantly, I just kind of see this as like a hikers and backpackers just kind of go-to blade. Mainly because this is a fixed blade versus this is a folding knife. The pivot, that's a folding knife's main weakness, is that pivot. Without this pivot there, that knife is going to withstand anything you throw at it. Let's kind of go real quickly to some things that I really kind of dislike. Number one, the biggest thing that I dislike is how short the handle is. So just to kind of give you a size comparison, here are these two, and as you can see, these blades are pretty much exactly the same, and I'm bringing them up to the end of the grind right here. But let's kind of go to the handle. We'll kind of start the handle with the same finger choil going on here. I'm going to flip these over for you. Look at that. That Spyderco's got an almost 3/4 extra long inch handle length in comparison to this Izula. Well, you should have bought the Izula too. The handle's longer. Okay, yeah, that's true. The handle is longer, but you know, I didn't feel like dropping down like 70 bucks just for a slightly longer blade. That's my main complaint as far as the handle goes, and honestly, it's not that big. You can really choke up on this thing, and I wear a large size glove, but just on a side note, that's because my fingers are long. Through here, they're actually mediums, but through here, they're larges. But you know, I can get a nice good grip on this thing, see? I mean, it's good, it's stout. I mean, I don't have, see, here we go, right there. And this is kind of how I would use it, and I'm gripping this thing pretty hard. As you can see, my fingers are kind of going white. This is how I would be using it, and it's very, very comfortable, especially with this wrap on there. Which brings me to another complaint, and this is complaining about the wrap that ESEE actually recommends on their blades. It's this kind of weave wrap that just basically all you do is you start here and you pull one side through the handle, and you pull this side through the handle, and you just repeat. So you're just kind of basically doing a figure 8 along the blade, and I just found that to be really, really thin in hand. So I had to modify it, and I put on the 360 Strider wrap. Since then, no problems whatsoever. Another thing I kind of dislike is actually the blade coating itself. I talked earlier about how I put this thing through some use, and now I've got some Boba Fetting going on. This is just from batoning within the first hour. Right there, that's almost completely worn off. In fact, the coating on the entire edge of this top blade is now really, really smooth in comparison to the texturing here and here. You also see a little bit more right here, kinda. It's a lot easier to see in person, so sorry. But through here, and let me just get my little pointer. Through here, there's a little bit of wear and tear. Through here, there's more wear and tear. It's the same thing on the other side. See, there we go. Right there, especially, the coating is kind of wearing off. It's just, I wasn't very impressed with the powder coat. If we're going to coat blades, guys, let's use like a DLC type of coating where it's not going to wear off really, really easily. A couple of my buddies with their Spydercos with the DLC, diamond-like carbon, I believe, is what it's called. They put their knives through some similar things, and their coating is still wearing just fine. Pretty much, that sums up my entire dislikes with this entire knife. It's just, there's not a whole lot to dislike. It's a great product made by ESEE. It's sharpened in Idaho at Rowan Manufacturing, or sharpened and it's well made. And there's not a lot I can say wrong about this knife. Even the sheath is good, and one day I'll probably pick up a Kydex sheath for this instead. My only worry there is, will it interfere with the wrap? So, hey, if anyone else watches this and they're like, hey man, I got a Kydex sheet with a wrap, and it does or does not interfere, and here's where I bought it from, please tell me, and I will know either to go there or not to go there, because I spent a lot of time trying to get this wrap just right, and I don't really want to undo it. See, there's the pretty side of the wrap. There's kind of the ugly side, but that's okay. This is more of a utility knife, as you can see with my use. This isn't meant just to stay pretty. Another just side note on the handle, as you see here with this paracord, I did put some knots here as well as a little pinky lanyard loop, and this is primarily because this thing doesn't really chop very well, and when you're trying to, it's not very big. So it kind of wants to slide out of your hands, so here you are chopping. Oh, slipped. Well, you got these knots here now to stop that. Another thing is, if you're batoning, I will actually loop my pinky through here and kind of choke up on the back of this knife and then baton right here. I smacked myself in the thumb. It's still a little red, and that didn't feel so good. So that's the main reason why I have that on there. Just some final thoughts on this, guys. I highly, highly recommend this knife. I actually recommended this Delica to my friend, and he went out and bought one. I spend more of his money than he does. It's really, really funny. But I highly recommend this knife to anybody who's looking just for a light camping knife, light survival knife, or last-ditch survival. Like I said, I put this thing through the ringer. I also would kind of carry this as an EDC. At least here in Idaho, we can do this. Where I'm moving to, however, I can barely even carry this guy. So, depending on your area, I'd recommend this as an EDC. I really like the handle. At first I was very worried about the skeletonized handle, potentially compromising the integrity, but I'm not worried at all. The blade shape is excellent, the coating is decent, the jimping is alright, but the main thing that I really like about this knife is that it is made in the USA, and ESEE's warranty is supreme. It rules overall. If you were just to break this knife in half, you send it back to them, they will send you another. So, anyways, guys, that's just kind of my final thoughts here. This is Asian Kyle, who brought you the ESEE Izula knife review. Take it easy, guys.